What is up, freak bitches, wherever you may be, however you may be watching? Thank you for giving us just a little bit of your time. Now, the second big series on Disney Plus from the Marvel Cinematic Universe has wrapped up, and we are here to break down all of it from episode 1 to episode 6. This very shortened season compared to what we got used to with WandaVision, but still a whole lot packed into it. And here to talk with me about it is, as always, my two top co-hosts, the first of which being the Dowager Countess, Lady Cora. How are you today, ma'am?
Mountain this year, cloud 9. So, all things are good.
Everybody's got money to spend. Fantastic. And the other person who needs no introduction, he's here just about all the time because he is my hetero life mate, the one that I depend on. Jeremy Walter, what's going on, my man?
That's a lot of build up and a lot of weight to put on me there. I don't know if I can follow that one.
Okay,
I'm putting the pressure on. I'm putting the pressure on. You better come through. You're fired.
Yeah, I had to take a week off to come back and get fucking fired. That's fucked up.
Oh, you're not Casey. We love you.
But look,
I fucking hope so.
But yeah, there's definitely a whole lot to go into this entire season. You know, a lot of people were kind of asking the question, why 6 episodes instead of 9? The way we got WandaVision. Bottom line is, all these episodes were about an hour-ish long in the 50 to 55 minute range. So we got really just as much, if not a little bit more, actual product from this show than we actually got from WandaVision, which most of those shows were only about, I think the first 3 or 4 were only the 35 minute range, and I think the longest one, the last episode, was only about 50 something minutes. So we actually got a whole lot of content in this short 6 episodes. Boy, it was big. A lot of it was big. We'll start with the premise. We'll talk about how we all felt about it. Now, the premise is this is 6 months after being handed the mantle of Captain America at the end of Avengers Endgame, and Sam Wilson teams up with Bucky Barnes in a worldwide adventure that leads to their abilities and their patience for one another being a little bit tested. Joined by this newer Captain America, John Walker, Sam and Bucky are forced to deal with this group called the Flag Smashers. They are a group of super soldiers that are unhappy with the way the world's governments have dealt with the reappearance of all those that returned after the snap. Now, what did you guys think of just kind of overall the whole premise of this season and the storylines?
I thought it was a well laid out plot with strong character development. There was a balance of action and engagement for the brain and the heart. The highlight for me was the bonding of Bucky and Sam in a way that they may not have done so in the past, and if they hadn't gone through all of this, they may not have at all. Well done. It reminds me of when you're watching a fireworks show, sometimes the bigger ones that last longer are pretty, but sometimes those small, burst of a moment ones have that moment of brilliance. And even though it was 6 short episodes, this really was out of the park spectacular.
I can't disagree with any of that. Jeremy, what do you think of kind of the overall storyline of this season?
Yeah, it was nice seeing these two guys and come together for this adventure, even if it was a little hesitant from both ends at first. I mean, they kind of came to terms with it in the end, and it was kind of a reminiscent of those old buddy cop movies from the 80s. You think of Lethal Weapon and shit like that. So it's they kind of came together for a common purpose. It was nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like the fact that, one of the things that people knock about the MCU is not something they can really do anything about because we've only got about 2 hours to tell the story. So you can't really go too in-depth, especially when you've got multiple characters in one movie. You can't really go too in-depth into some of the relationship intricacies that happen between the individual characters. You focus on a couple of them here and there because they're significant to the overall growth of this giant story they're trying to tell in the MCU, but you don't always get a chance to really see the relationship between this character and this character and that character and that character and all these characters individually develop. One of the things that's been really cool, and I've said this a couple of times, especially about this show, is how you've been able to kind of examine and get deeper into one of these relationships. It's when you watch a movie like The Avengers, it just kind of falls into place really quickly because you have this bad guy you have to deal with. So that you don't really see, they don't really take a minute to talk about the crazy shit, the the kind of it can sometimes take relationships to mesh. They're good relationships, but it takes a little longer for some things to fall into place. You don't really get to see that in the big movies, at least not so far. As I've said, one of the nice things about these series is that you can dig back into these personal stories of these characters a lot more and really break down who they are as people and examine them. And one of the things that you can do is to examine this one-on-one relationship. We've never really seen, we saw kind of Bucky and Sam in Endgame kind of jabber back and forth in the back of that really teeny tiny car, and it was kind of fun to see that. And they obviously struggled to get along a bit, but that's really the only time you get a chance to see that in any of the cinematic stuff. You don't ever really get to touch that until you get to this show.
Agreed. And at the beginning of this, it was almost like all they did was talk and work together. Was almost out of survivorship of both missing Steve. It's like, well, we were both close to him and he's gone, so I guess by default we should try working together or try, connecting. And it wasn't organic per se, but it worked out in the end.
It was, because you do remember in the end that ultimately these guys are on the same team. They want the same things, but there is this, not a disconnect, there is just this different angle that they approach life. Obviously, Bucky's got his whole backstory. He was born in 1920 or whatever, fought World War II, came up with Steve during World War II. He himself, a man out of time, very much so the same way Steve was through the entire course of this entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. Sam dealing with the struggles that he's dealing with. He got dusted. He's been through... he's dealing with the stuff at home. He got handed the mantle of Cap. He's dealing with some of the racial stuff that his character has to deal with. How do I deal with this? It's all this stuff kind of piling on top of them individually, and then you have the problem of having to fight the bad guys, which is a whole other thing, and then the problem of this shared problem they have of missing Steve. I mean, could there have been any more bonding shit involved between these two, Jeremy? Do you think?
I mean, it's like it's like that whole. Hey, we have like one mutual friend in common. We have our own kind of way we know this person, but that they both have a different, I don't want to say a different view of Steve, but a different idea of him or something. Because Steve snuck out for Bucky so many times, so he feels like well, hey, this guy stood up for me even when I didn't believe in myself, and he's telling Sam, well, Steve believed in you. That's why he gave you the shield. So he feels kind of like cheated a little bit. They're like, dude, why didn't you just take this? So, I don't know. It's, as I said, it was kind of rough to start, but hey, we're all buddies in the end, I guess.
What do you guys think of the introduction of this group, the Flag Smashers, of the primary villain throughout this entire series? Was it because Marvel's, the one thing they've taken pretty consistent shots over in all this is the fact that their villains, outside of Loki and Thanos, have been kind of lackluster. Do you guys think this is a worthy villain of what, of these two characters that we were focusing on over the course of the series?
I did. It was almost like they put a puzzle out for us of what this group was, and you didn't really put it all together till the end, especially with Carly's conversations on the last episode. So at first I thought they were just stupid and naive and maybe really poorly organized, but then when you find out about the power brokers element to this and the backstory of how Carly connected with her and how so many people around the world have thrown support at this, it really brings legitimacy to it. And so it makes me rethink my whole impression of it to begin with. And I think that it's almost like a group in shambles is very symbolic of what the world is like, which is in shambles after everybody came back after 5 years. It's almost like an analogy of, like what the world looks like at large. And this is just what is the result of all of the confusion and strife and disagreement. So it seems very natural that this is the kind of group that would come out of that.
Absolutely. Jeremy, what do you think of the Flag Smashers throughout the course of the series?
I kind of agree with her. I just thought maybe it was this kind of ragtaggy terrorist group, I guess. I know Sam would smack me for saying, why'd you call them terrorists? I'm like, well, to whoever's vision you are as being a terrorist, But once you kind of see more of them and how deep it actually goes, because it's not just necessarily them, like the super soldiers that are in this group. it's like their message it still reaches. It could reach anybody, and that's the thing is that they had people that were still willing to just jump right in with these guys because they believed in what they were doing. So it kind of makes it scary, like how easy that was just to get everyone on their side, or not everyone, but a lot of these people on their side. Because I was thinking about that today. I'm like, I know the Avengers meant well, and they were trying to get everybody back, but then I thought, yeah, but man, do you really think about like what that was gonna do? And this is what we're seeing now. I think the most we've seen of it, other than Spider-Man, was like this series. We just saw what happened when everyone did try to come back.
Yeah.
I think the depth of the returning people was explored a lot more here than it has been anywhere else in the MCU just yet. We kind of got a taste of it through Monica's eyes in WandaVision, and then we get a little. I think we get a little bit of a larger taste of it in Spider-Man: Far From Home because it's more about. We get a little bit of it from Peter's perspective. He's dealing with having been gone for 5 years, coming back to this different world, who's still here, finding out who else was snapped. I guess I don't know if it's expressly said in the movie, but I think Aunt May have been gone for 5 years too. We don't really see the broader impact of it all until we get to this, and we kind of know it's out there in the back of our heads that billions of people just kind of vanish, and then 5 years later, spontaneously, billions of people just came back. There are a whole lot of problems at a whole lot of levels that's going to cause, but we've never really delved into exactly what those problems are going to be, exactly how they're going to affect people all over the world. This actually does a really good job of that. Because they
establish what the GRC is and what their job is, and the frustration of what they're doing for people and for them doing it, not knowing what to do. So much was explained. I wish they would have explained more of this in WandaVision, looking back, but I understand the focus of WandaVision wasn't this. I don't know. It just feels like they could have done a little more explanation somewhere else prior to this, but maybe I'm asking for too much.
Well, it was also after, right? This is a while after WandaVision. WandaVision was like, what, 2 weeks after everyone came back?
Yeah. So
then it starts becoming like, okay, we're seeing that nothing's really getting done the way we want. And that's kind of where she probably started this group and got it rolling. So it's like, well, I mean, I don't know. I kind of am one side like, well, I don't know. In 6 months though, what did you fucking expect? You're trying to deal with billions of people. I don't know how you expect it to just be fixed fucking in a week.
Yeah.
And I still kind of am like, what were you really trying to do? But like,
great question.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, they did do a much better job kind of getting to this broader story. I mean, they, like I said, they touch on it a little bit here and there over the course of a couple of properties that have come out since the events of Endgame. But this is the one where they really tackle the human element of this mass return of billions of people. And yes, there is going to be a lot of struggles. Yes, there's going to be a lot of craziness you're going to have to deal with when a bunch of people come back. One of the things they did in the show was they really dove into that, because I kind of was wondering, it's like, when is Marvel going to talk about this big thing? They could have avoided talking about it altogether, because when it comes to these movies there's already this suspension of disbelief. I mean, because we pretend that there's some super soldier out there with a vibranium shield and a guy in a suit of armor and God of Thunder. So I mean, we're already suspending
time travel.
Yeah, time travel. I mean, so we're already suspending a certain amount of disbelief. But one of the things that Marvel's done very, very well throughout all of its properties is tackling some of these more human elements. They did it in what was it, Punisher, talking about PTSD. That was one of the most brilliant things about the Netflix show, The Punisher, was they made that a significant part of who Frank Castle was in that series. Not just that he's some veteran that came back and he was living a happy life and then his family got killed and he decided to snap and kill a bunch of bad guys. They really did attack that very sensitive subject of PTSD and made it a part of his character and humanized that issue a little bit and made us all kind of look at that character in a different way. I think there was a lot of similarities to this, kind of the series as a whole rather than one character, but specifically, I mean, with Carly. And now's probably a good time to go ahead and talk about some of the cast. We'll start with Sebastian Stan and Anthony Mackie. I mean, come on, they're awesome. Again, Marvel hasn't done anything wrong casting wise, really, with this entire MCU. I can't say enough about these guys. I mean, is there anything you guys want to say about them, real quick?
Which characters specifically are the main characters overall?
Either one of them. Well, Sebastian Stan or Anthony Mackie. I mean, they're suited for this role almost perfectly. I can't really come up with an actor that could have played any of these roles any better than these guys have.
Agreed. There's a presence to them, and maybe that part of that is the build up from seeing them in the movies. But they really carry it through. It's almost like they're not actors, like they actually lived it from the transition from the movies to this limited series. In their, you can tell they're emotionally worn and they don't know what to do and they're stressed and especially Sam with his family when he first remember that episode I complained all the hell about all the boat shit, I mean it's impressive acting on his part. And Bucky as well, he's very good with his facial expressions and communicating non-verbally what's going on, and impressive quality of acting in those two.
Jeremy, what are some of your thoughts on these two main characters?
I mean, you do genuinely believe that they're, you see their friendship kind of at least come to a head at some point. Yeah, that I mean, I like when Sam says he's going to go meet Carly, alone, and Bucky takes Bucky with him in the background. And I'm like, it's funny, but it was like, you trust him, he's gonna have his back.
Yeah.
He would go there for him anyway. And then when they fought John Walker, it's like, they got each other's back, and that's what I love that shot of Bucky standing up with the shield and he throws it down at Sam and kind of walk away like, if you don't get it now, dude, this is what I've been trying to fucking tell you,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, they're pretty fantastic, and I'm also enjoying all these memes of from 8 Mile where they're making jokes about him being, Falcon.
Yeah,
Anthony Mackie.
He was one of the rappers in 8 Mile. I totally forgot about that until a week or two ago.
Right. I've seen so many
fucking.
fucking
that was him.
A long ass time ago, yeah.
Yeah, there's another one I want to get to you real quick before we move on to a couple of people that I think need to be talked about a lot for how good they were in this series. One of them is Daniel Bruhl, coming back as Helmut Zemo. Zemo was,
fantastic.
A lot of people thought that he was just kind of going to be a MacGuffin in Civil War, just something to move the story along to where it needed to be, because there was an element to Endgame and to Infinity War specifically, because they go into this battle with Thanos very much a fractured team. I mean, they're still the Avengers, they still have all this power, but they're not a team anymore. They have been completely torn apart by the events of Civil War. And all that is, because of the work of Helmut Zemo. So, I mean, some people just kind of thought he was a MacGuffin to kind of push in that direction, but I think he was way more important than that. That's not wrong. He was kind of his character is kind of that plot device that pushes us where we need to be to make that big step into that final battle against Thanos and all his soldiers. But he is just damn good. I mean, they have done a really good job in the MCU about making the bad guys relatable, and you almost kind of want to side with him at one point, and you understand Zemo as soon as you see him in Civil War. His family was killed in the events of Sokovia and all that. He's bitter, and he blames the only people that he can really strike back at, and that's the Avengers.
Yeah, and it's great because he got a title change to Baron Zemo, which is cool, and had a good sequence to show us throughout the whole short series of who he was more, while he's still trying to own what he did and accepting responsibility in a way that felt like a face turn from being heel. And it seems almost poetic that, he went back to Sokovia before and waited for Bucky, knowing that he was going to be taken to the Wakandans or be killed. It just was... he was redeemed in my eyes. I'm not going to lie. And I want to see more of him in the future. That is for damn sure. In
a lot of ways, yeah. Jeremy, I don't know if you saw it. I was going back and watching the episode a couple of days ago, and that scene, it's actually up on the screen right now, ironically enough, when Bucky draws down and puts the gun in Zemo's face at the Sokovia Memorial. there is almost a look of like Zemo is resigned to what's happening. Like he feels like this is what should happen. And I thought that, I mean, like I say all the time, I love it when people act with their eyes. There are some actresses out there specifically that one of the reasons I love them is because they can do this. There was this look in his eyes and on his face where he was sad that he thought that he knew it was about to end, but he knew it fit and he was content. And so, I'm sitting there waiting for Bucky to pull the trigger to put Zemo out because Zemo is still dangerous. I mean, he is in the raft now. After all, after we're done seeing him in the series. But there was this moment where I was like, shit. I mean, this guy knew that probably about a 90% certainty that this was going to end with his death, but he was going to do it anyway, and he was perfectly fine with that. I mean, did you get that out of that moment? That look on his face, like I did?
I did.
Yeah. It's almost like I guess like a feeling of maybe relief, almost like he kind of felt fulfilled. Like, okay, well, this is kind of it. And like you said, he was already there waiting for him, and I can't remember what he says now, but you see Bucky, he's like, well, yeah, imagine my relief. And you see how he came packing a gun. So he's like, well, this is how it has to be. And he kind of thought, well, I mean, not that Zemo probably didn't have other plans maybe in place or something he wanted to do, but he kind of thought, well, I've played my part, like, and I accept that this is the end, and that's, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. I don't think he really cared, even if it was Bucky. He probably would have been glad that it was him.
Well, it's almost like he wanted it to happen. I mean, because he's lost his family and all this stuff. So, I mean, besides being the rich baron,
and his mission is fulfilled. He killed the last. Well, we don't know it yet, but he's working on. At that point, he knows he's going to get all of the super people that he wants. He feels like he can't do any more, I think. Yeah, like his personal mission is fulfilled to some degree. If that makes sense.
Well, I mean, on top of that, it's like there's almost this moment where Bucky's got the gun pointed at his face, where he's like, I would imagine anyway, maybe this is just the way I would feel, that he's going to be reunited with his family finally. Bucky's going to pull the trigger, and by doing that, he's probably going to do him a favor. He's almost, he's possible that he's doing what Zemo wants him to do. End me on this world so I can go on to the next whatever plane of existence and hang out with my wife and kid. That's where I want to be. So there was a certain amount of, like I said, sadness, but satisfaction and contentment of what he thought was going to happen. But it didn't happen that way. I mean, because, and that scene was part of Bucky's growth as well. As I think Bucky, even in the lead up to the events of something like Endgame, he's probably still one of those guys at that point where he's just like, I'm just going to shoot this guy because he's a danger. But not. And when he shows up to
Sokovia, he didn't even flinch. He knew he didn't want to kill him. There was no like, am I or am I not? He knew he wasn't. Yeah.
So there was a lot of growth and a lot going on in that one particular scene for both these characters, I thought. But it's just like I said, Sam and Bucky and Baron Zemo are just fantastic characters, perfectly cast.
Agreed.
Great acting on all accounts by all these guys. But there's, I do want to call out a couple. Go ahead.
Well, I was just thinking, like, well, didn't he also have Bucky's book of all the people that he was trying to make amends with?
Yeah, he did.
Zemo's name was there because he told him, I still have your book. I took the liberty of crossing my name off for you. It's like, he knew, like, he's like, I don't think you're going
to
kill me. He's like, I don't think you're going to kill me. That's not the way this would end. But he kind of thought, well, whatever, dude, if you're going to do it. But yeah, because I think he planned on, either somehow getting that book back to Bucky, saying, well, you know what? I feel like you did what you needed to do with me, and I've done all I can. So he kind of came to peace with it.
Very good point. I totally forgot about that.
And it was a pretty fitting ending. I mean, and obviously it leaves it just open enough that we might see him later on. And there's obviously
and the book had a really cool thing, because remember he put it in a gift bag for the therapist. I mean, it was a short little snippet that we didn't need, but I loved that.
Yeah. Which I actually was just kind of like, screw that therapist. I never was really fond of her character anyway. I'm glad she kind of came and went in the first couple, 3 episodes, and that was it. She kind of got on my nerves. But yeah, I mean, it was a pretty good ending for all that. But, obviously I want to call some attention to a couple of people that were in the show also. One of them was... Don Cheadle has a little bit of a cameo in the first episode. He's not really a significant part of it all, except for kind of setting Sam Wilson kind of down his path of introspection and stuff like that, where he's at the beginning of the show. The other one is George St. Pierre as Batroc. Yeah, again, one of those bad guys with so much potential. I just don't think the MCU used him enough. Now, I'm not saying you should have shoehorned him into Endgame or anything, because obviously if he'd have rolled up there, Thanos probably would have just squashed him like a bug anyway. But just to get him out of the way, even though he wanted to fight with him, he probably just would have killed him. But again, George St. Pierre in this role is actually kind of perfect. I really wish there would have been more room for him, but I mean, there's only so much you can do with the bad guys. Also Danny Ramirez. The Joaquin Torres character, it has a pretty good history in the comics that I think they're going to touch on a little bit more moving forward in the MCU. My question is it going to be in the movies, or is it going to be on some Disney Plus series stuff? I have a feeling it's going to be some Disney Plus series stuff. Because that whole moment of like, hey, what are you going to want the suit? And he goes, keep it, and then just walks away. Marvel's really good at this little bit of foreshadowing, and I think that was one of those spots of foreshadowing. Jeremy, what do you think?
Yeah, because you wouldn't just. I mean, I think Sam had the new suit at that point, right? So that was kind of a nice where he's like, wait, what do you want me to do with this thing? He's like, yeah, keep it. And I was like, oh, wait a minute, you're just gonna leave him there with that? Like, there's gotta be, I don't know, there's gotta be something more to him. I know we talked about like John Walker's wife, or like, why is she here? I'm like, I kind of feel like she's just there to be there. But I feel like this kid had like a little bit more of like there's something else. You wouldn't have him at the end there looking at the screen, fucking, watching Sam do his whole thing.
I agree. The other one I really liked was, I'm going to get this name way wrong. I'm going to try it, though. Adipero Aduye as Sam's sister, Sarah. I think she was a great way to connect the fans to the emotional side, to the character of Sam Wilson and not Falcon. Because you're connected to Falcon because of all the stuff we've already seen. Like I said, we needed to connect at a personal level to Sam and Bucky.
And we did that with Steve Rogers in his first Captain America movie, so we needed that for Sam as well.
Yeah,
if he's going to become.
Yeah, she was a great way to kind of get us emotionally connected to Sam Wilson, the person. I think she was absolutely fantastic in this. I don't think she was used enough, or at least not correctly. It was odd to me how they seemed to want to get us more involved in the personal characters. In the first couple episodes, they were leaning that way, and then it was like 4 straight episodes of all the action, which I didn't mind.
Yeah.
But at the same time, then they spend that entire 5th episode doing a lot to just reconnect with the personal stuff, and I'm like, I feel like they could have balanced that out a little bit more for me. It didn't take me out of the show or anything, but again,
like the whole thing about the food boxes and sitting in the bank. I mean, they could have used that airtime, I think, in different ways.
I think they could have spaced all that out across a couple of different across a couple of different
yeah,
episodes.
Maybe that would have worked better.
Whatever. I mean, I'm who am I to tell Marvel if they're doing anything wrong? I mean, I've never made a multi-gajillion-dollar movie franchise, so again, in Feige I trust, but that's just kind of what I thought about all that. Who else was I thinking? Where's the rest of my stuff? Again, Daniel Bruhl.
What about John Walker or Agent Carter?
We're getting there.
Not Agent Carter.
We're getting there.
Okay.
Don't get ahead of things. Okay.
Sorry.
Actually, I may as well go there now. By far the two most intriguing, divisive. Well, one of them was divisive. Newest, definitely shocking characters in here are by far Carly Morgenthau and John Walker. Now, first off, let's talk about Wyatt Russell's performance here. For one, if you can come out on screen and make everybody hate you instantly without saying a line, it's like, I mean, look, his last name is Russell. It's in his blood. Okay, let's be honest here. There is a bit of a pedigree to that, but all he has to do is walk out there, flash that shiny shield, and wink, and instantly 150 million people across the country hated him. That right there is acting. That, my friends, is acting. I mean, I cannot say enough. Look, it's obviously you wanted to hate him, even though he's a good guy. In his core, he's a good guy. But you want to hate him because he's not Steve. I get that. But you get so wrapped up in his personal kind of story track through all this, too. I mean, you get introduced to his wife early on. his friend Battlestar. You kind of give him his own little personal story to kind of exist in, and you get people involved in it really, really quickly. And you start to wonder, I mean, what's going to happen to this guy? I want to hate him because he's wearing that suit. But at the same time, I know he's a good guy. But at the same time, Sam and Bucky hate him, and I feel like I should be on Sam and Bucky's side on this. But at the same time, he's trying to stop the Flag Smashers. He's fighting the bad guys. It's such a weird position to be
conflicting.
in. Yeah,
ultimately, it's just so conflicting.
It is very conflicting, and he acted the hell out of this part. I thought he was amazing. What do you think, Jeremy?
Well, it's because if you play it like he's kind of a cocky bastard, even though he tries to play like I didn't do much. And the lady's like, I mean, what? Let's look at your record for, totally not exposition, because I really care. But, he tries to play it off like, as soon as he walked out in that goddamn suit, we're all going to be like, man, fuck you. What are you doing? Why are you? No. Stop. And he continues to just keep twisting that knife in us, and it's like, oh my God, I hate you. But I had to stop. I mean, because some people take this shit too far and they think this shit's a documentary and it's real, and they're like, "Man, fuck this guy." It's like, it's not him. He's a good actor. I had to realize, oh yeah, you know what? Good job. You made me actually hate you. So I'm impressed. I don't have to like you just because you're one of the Avengers. Like, obviously I'm gonna side with Bucky and Sam because I'm like, oh, well, I like you guys. But I'm just like, dude, I don't know. You walking around like you fucking know the damn place. I'm not to ask you to calm down, sir.
No doubt. Yeah, I don't know. I've said what I can say. He was fantastic. Cora, what do you think?
It's like we quickly saw him rise and fall, and he eventually finds a balance for what he wanted to be in Captain America, but really wasn't able to be when he becomes the U.S. agent. And I think he finally found harmony, but damn, it was a rocky road getting there in a very short amount of time, like 0 to 60 in 5 seconds. And the wake of it takes time to absorb, but he finally got there. He was never meant to be Captain America. He wanted to be more than what he was, but he was no Captain America. But he can be the U.S. agent just fine. Maybe that's what he needs to be. Does he deserve to be it after everything he did? That's up to personal opinion, but I think he did redeem himself in the end. I'm surprised that he did, but I'm glad that he did.
He seemed pretty fucking excited to be the U.S. agent. He's just like, I'm back. And I still kind of was like, I don't know if I like you still. But he seemed genuinely, I mean, his wife hugged him and shit. They seemed happy about the way it turned out. I don't know.
I feared that he might end up being suicidal if he hadn't gotten that. Like he the loss of getting something like that and losing it. What do you guys think?
He kind of went in there. He kind of went in there right after Carl. I mean, he just went in there balls out like, fuck it. This may be a one way for me,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
that's what I took it as.
I think that he just had to find his way. Look, like I said, I do think at his core he's a good man. I think at his core he's a good guy. And I think the reason why Steve made such the purest Captain America is because he comes from a different time. I don't think that the Steve Rogers that became Captain America wouldn't have been that much different from the what we got in John Walker had he been born in in 1980, and he really is from a different point of existence in the world. I mean, how much different was the world in 1940 than what it is now?
Agreed.
We are products of our time. I mean, think about how out of place we'd be if we got transported back to 1941. I mean, would it be much easier for us without the modern conveniences? The way people talk to each other were different. The way people treat each other was so much different. I mean, it's almost literally like going to another planet. It's like you would be an alien. You would be in a completely different place. So I did kind of ask myself at a couple points during this, is if Steve Rogers would have been born in around 1980, like I'm assuming he was, would he be a whole lot different than John Walker? So you got to kind of, I mean, at least that's what I thought anyway.
Give him some understanding rather than judgment.
Just rather than to say be Steve.
He's grown up.
Good.
Well, no, he grew up in the. I'm not saying was going to really quote Fallout there and say, war never changes. War is still fucking, that does shit to you. But yeah, it is still a different time. You're talking about, World War II as compared to, I'm assuming he was in, he said, what did he say, Afghanistan?
I don't remember.
Yeah, he's sort of in the middle somewhere.
I think yeah. So I'm like, it's still, but it is a different time, and a different way it's a different way we do things now. I mean, I'm not saying warfare has changed so much since then, but like, if you look at like shit like the American Revolution, like, yeah, you know what we fucking did? We went out in the middle of a fucking field, we lined the fuck up, and we shot at each other. There was, order and class to it. There was a little bit of, pride in it. I mean, it's a little different. And then it became a lot of, I guess, more guerrilla type warfare, and it became a lot of tactics and trying to, outplay the other guy. It's not just a gentleman's game of, go out and shoot each other and hope we don't miss or hope we don't get hit.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. There was still something about that time as opposed to now. It's like you don't see people out here making, it's not. It seems like everyone rallied around in World War II. We all kind of came together to be like, all right, this is something we all need to be behind. Like, I don't care what you believe. It's like we all just, it's all towards this effort. And then now it's kind of a divided thing. So it's kind of like is there right and wrong? We going into this kind of thing.
Yeah,
that's where I was going with it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Because Bucky's not the same person he was back in 1940. Look at how significantly things have changed for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's crazy different, and that's one of the things that you can see in the relationship between Sam and Isaiah. He is that bridge to what was for Sam, and I think that's one of the things that Sam realizes. While he's realizing his stuff, is that he's always he's also understanding over the course of the series the journey that he has been on, kind of existentially a little bit, not him personally, but just kind of like his people and all that, the African Americans and all that. It is the way time affects everything is very, very, it's crazy. It's insane. And so that's why I think that you couldn't have made Steve Rogers today. I don't think he would have been the same person. Same name, same face, same abs, but they're not the same person.
Yeah.
Everything special after him came out of the bottle.
Yeah. And I saw that meme today. They both proved each other wrong. He's like, everything good about you came out of a bottle. I'm like, nah, man, he picked up Molinear. And he's like, what do you say? Without that suit, you're nothing. And it's like, well, he still sat there and. True. Or he said, you're not the guy who's willing to make that sacrifice kind of choice. And I'm like, oh, well.
You're both wrong there. It's some deep way out foreshadowing. He says that is wrong. But I want to talk about a couple of the women in this show that were absolutely fantastic. Mm-hmm. First, let's go to Emily Van Camp as Sharon Carter, / the Power Broker. Spoiler alert for those of you who haven't seen it yet.
Oh no.
She was given a pretty good task in this one too. I still don't know exactly what Sharon's got going on right now when this whole thing is said and done. Even after that post-credit scene.
She's got more.
She definitely looks like she's taken kind of a full heel turn, but I mean, she's still Peggy's niece.
I had a question about that. I was like, is she, one of my cliffhanger notes about her was, is she really turning heel, or is she being a double agent? She's somehow going to save the world someday by, catching the bad guys by pretending to be one, being a double agent. I don't know.
Maybe she's got a contingency in place of like, well, hey, whoever I'm talking to on this phone, we're going to have access to some more, some nice toys here. So I'm like, yeah, but for what? For who? Explain yourself.
Yeah.
I request elaboration, as Neo Vision said, whatever fucking I'm calling him now.
It's White Vision.
Yeah.
The Great White Vision. But yeah, she's definitely, she even said that this character is an interesting place coming into this series. I didn't realize how interesting until for one, you find out she's a power broker, which was shocking, but not shocking at the exact same time. Because, from the very beginning, I made it kind of obvious. And again, I made this mistake in WandaVision and not believing the obvious signs that Agnes was Agatha. But they were making it pretty damn obvious over the course of the series. As soon as they introduced her, there was some, you kind of side-eyed Sharon a little bit, and you're like, I don't know. If there's a power broker, you're either working for him or you might be him. And it became very clear very quickly. That's why I was kind of sold on it from the very beginning. I was like, yeah, I fell for the too obvious to be that in WandaVision. I can't fall for it again this time. But
well, I think it's like, wasn't she the one that killed the blonde lady, or where the hell that she was? She was there and gone in like one scene. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, no, the blonde lady that fucking with the short haircut they talked to.
Oh,
when they
yeah,
were with
she did,
Zemo.
I think. Yes.
Yeah, I'm like, didn't she? I mean, was she the one that shot her? I assume. So I'm like, yeah, you wouldn't be willing to just do that if you weren't someone of that power.
And
or,
she
you know, at
also
least up
shot.
there.
She also shot the guy who was threatening to blackmail her. Like
Batroc,
with
yeah.
it, like it was nothing. Like she was combing her
yeah.
hair. I was like,
Yeah, well.
wow, that to me doesn't seem like someone who's conflicted. That to me seems like somebody who's way deep in being a heel at this point.
Yeah.
She knew what she was doing.
Yeah, she in that moment, she is obviously protecting her brand. She
Yeah.
obviously does not want to lose the power broker status. At the very least, she does not want Sam to find out about it, because she's got to know in that moment to say that, you know, Carly's on the run. Somebody, that probably means someone's chasing her. Batroc's right there saying, "I'm going to expose you." Obviously, Carly already knows. So when they're in that Mexican standoff, then it's pretty clear she has to you know, defend her brand. Kelly Batroc's going to do it because he's the one threatening to expose her, whereas Carly's really not. She just wants to, you know, whatever, do her thing.
And Carly did not seem surprised, by the way.
Yeah, she didn't.
By what she did, and that to me tells me that whatever happened before this show plot started for us, when Carly knew her before, that how bad of a person was she for Carly not to be surprised by that?
And
that was telling to me. That was like, oh, this is normal fare with Carter.
Yeah, and we could still find that out because there's definitely more coming with Sharon. I mean, and we'll talk a little bit about what's coming next for...
I would love a prequel something where they show when Carly first meets the power broker and how Carly becomes Carly.
There could potentially, depending on what the writing looks like, it could be potentially a flashback for something else. But I doubt we're going to see Carly anymore for, you know, obvious reasons. But let's go ahead and talk about Erin Kellyman and her portrayal as Carly Morgenthau. I swear she is the most intriguing character of this entire series, and there she is on the screen right now for those of you watching. You love villains that you can kind of almost side with, and you understand her and her motivations throughout this entire thing from start to finish. And you do feel for her, because there are times where she obviously is conflicted by what has to be done. She is single-minded, but at the same time aware of what she's doing and the effect it's having on the people around her. But she understands very clearly that for the significant changes to get made that she feels need to be made, that this has to be done, even if she has to sell her soul to the devil to do it. And I think Erin Kellyman was fantastic in this. It's so hard to make a bad guy likable, but when
especially
you can do it,
for
you're
such
golden.
a young actress. I mean, it seems so much more genuine because I don't know, it was very impressive. And when I think back about Carly, just what a tragic conclusion for her. But it really exemplified the drive for a truly passionate person with a mission to make change. It was kind of inspiring while being a cautionary tale at the same time. Like, don't go too far down the rabbit hole. You know?
Because the point is this could have happened to anybody. And you said, like, even a teenage girl like that. Like, or what Sam said, a misguided teenage girl. Because, I mean, he mentioned, like, Thanos. He's like, even if it's a madman killing half the universe or a misguided teenage girl, it's like, yeah, it's kind of, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever motivations you have, and it could be anybody.
Yeah, but I just thought she was phenomenal.
Especially the dialogue scenes, because she was so poignant in how she spoke. She didn't seem like she had a temper, and of course that's the writing and the direction given to her. But the way they painted her character, she seemed way wise beyond her years in how she composed herself, even if she was maybe less mature in her ability to see what she was doing and what that meant in a larger picture. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
But she was phenomenal. I know The writer Spellman, I forget his first name, but he called Morgenthau's character the glue for the series. I believe that. I'm with that all. I'm with that all the way.
Yeah.
I mean, look. It's not just because you need a good bad guy to fight against. It's because you need a bad guy that kind of checks certain boxes. I mean, for one, they have to be someone who can go toe to toe with the good guy and be believable. It has to be someone who has a clear mission, even if it's a blatantly bad one, like I just want to, launch a missile at the San Andreas Fault and, cause that whole section of California and the West Coast to fall into the ocean so I can do whatever economic stuff, blah, blah, blah. And yes, I'm doing Lex Luthor with the Superman movie. That's
I was about to say that sounds very Lex Luthor.
that sounds very familiar. You gotta tell us.
I mean, yeah, it's not so kind of, I mean, forgive the term, kind of comic bookish or cartoonish. It wasn't such a kind of a dim. It wasn't a Dr. Evil kind of mission. Mm-hmm. It's like she has something that's way deeper. Yeah, Jeremy giving me the pose. $1 billion, but
$1 billion.
It was a much more defined, much more. I don't know about believable, but you can relate to what she's trying to do a lot.
There's more depth.
Oh yeah, more depth. That's a good way to say it. It's much deeper.
When you have someone that you can at least, even if they're bad. I mean, when I think of something like that, I mean, you think if everyone's ever seen The Walking Dead, you think of the governor. It's like, he's a bad fucking guy. He does a lot of bad shit. But then when you I still kind of saw her and also kind of saw more of his.
But he also did save a group of people and create a system in place to keep them safe.
Yeah, but it is how he was doing it, kind of shady backdoor shit that he didn't tell them. That was kind of keeping it under wraps.
Yeah.
I'm not. See, it's like I'm not saying you're a bad guy, but you're kind of a bad guy. But it's like I can understand where he was coming from and what he had gone through to get there. It's not just a straight up. I'm just evil to be evil, and this is my plan. I'm going to do this. It's like, no, I want something that I can believe and I can see, and you can kind of look at it like, okay, you're still an asshole, but hey, I kind of get, what I mean. That's the same thing with the more complex character of Negan. We just saw his backstory. It's like, yeah, you can believe this dude fucking went down this path because he went through a fucking lot,
Yeah, PTSD and stress can change people, and it clearly changed Carly in a way that
it started making you do shit you didn't think you'd ever do. It's
hard to understand. The thing is, even if I can't relate to Carly, I can see how she got to where she got at the beginning of this to become the villain. And I don't know, there's just something about her story that makes you want to go, this could be me in these circumstances. So even though I really have a hard time with what she's doing, I'm going to give her a little bit of understanding and less judgment. Like I said earlier.
To that point.
Yeah. I would want understanding if I ever got pushed to this place. I hope I don't, but...
And even I love the scene when she has but I think who was it? I think it was Bucky was fighting one of them, and she said, "We need a distraction." And it's like, oh, well, I'm just gonna casually set this van with these people on fire. And it's kind of like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to have to, but I'm going to because I don't really have any other option right now.
It's like she can detach her morality, like a sweatshirt, just take it off, do the deed, and then pick it up again, and she's not affected by it.
And that's why I love that scene. It seems like she may be more committed to it than the rest of them. Because when she was there and they were when they were going to do the little moniker, she's like, "One world." And they just looked at her. She's like,
"Yeah,
that's our thing, guys. One world. This is where you say
we people. Could die for this." But then they all look around like,
They kind of reluctany were like, "Yep, one world, one people. Fucking Yahoo, let's go team."
And it makes you wonder if anybody else had taken the lead with this cause, I don't think it would have gone anywhere. There's something about her that really drew people in and kept people captivated to stay focused on the cause.
Somebody had to, I guess. Maybe that's when you think, well, if no one else is going to do it, I might as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's the thing. Exactly. It's like she was more willing, like I was saying, she was more willing to do some of the sketchier shit than her people. They were just kind of believing in the cause. They're like, I don't know if we actually want to do that,
Mm.
But We're in it now.
Yeah, Nightwatch in the chat says he hopes they continue to flesh out Bucky. He was happy to see him happy at the end of the series. Bucky's in the best place that Bucky has been mentally, I think, since he fell off that damn train in Captain America. Seriously, I mean, it's like, yeah, he was in a war fighting.
I forgot about that.
But that was before, the experiments and the Winter Soldier stuff. I mean, he was just fighting next to his buddy Steve. But I mean, when he falls off that train, and we all think that we've lost him, that's where his journey really gets terrible. I mean, for one, he falls off a train, which is not a fun thing to experience, I would imagine. He's in the cold water, he gets found, he gets experimented on, all the Winter Soldier stuff, killing all the people that sits on him, and now, after all of that, he's finally found his way out of all that, which is what he really wanted. Again, I point to that scene where it was that first scene of, I think, the 5th episode, where him and Ayo are around the campfire, and she's saying those trigger words to him, and he's truly frightened about turning back into that again. He wants so badly to not be the Winter Soldier that he thinks that it's hopeless, and it's starting to break him. Like there's no vibranium arm that can fight the guilt. And when she says the last trigger word, and he doesn't fall into that elation, that happiness on his face, that relief, it was real, it was palpable. I mean, that almost had me teary-eyed. I was like, good God.
Oh, I was.
That was a very, very emotional scene.
But then it also, on the other side of that... Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was saying, it's nice that she also told him, look, I'm not going to let you hurt anybody. Again, I got you. Don't worry. So he felt, a little more confident probably going into that work.
I would imagine it would be hard for him to let his guard down to anybody, even somebody who was trying to help him get out from under that Winter Soldier thing.
And I liked how they tied that scene into when he first saw Zemo again, and Zemo just says the words, and just for shits and giggles, goes, I know how to try it. There's something in there still. And it was like, okay, so there's one emotionally evocative scene, and now here's the comedy side of it. And it was really nice seeing Bucky in both of those situations. It's like he's come really far to be able to joke about it.
You may have also just been fucking with him, like, it's still there. I'm like, maybe. If you believe that, buddy, whatever, man. Because he was even looking at him like, really, dude, we're gonna do that? We're gonna do this, okay? I was gonna say, hey, come on, Bucky. You had somebody side on you. So the second you showed up and lifted that shit off that truck with your one arm, come on, he's got somebody for him.
Yeah,
I'm happy for him.
No doubt. I also want to throw some love out to Florence Kasumba, who played Ayo, the member of the Dora Milaje that came and talked to Bucky. She is also very, very good at this. I actually didn't realize I was watching Black Panther earlier today, just for shits and giggles, and
nice.
she actually has a role in that as well. Obviously, there's a scene where who's the leader of the Dora Milaje? Help me out, Jeremy. I'm drawing a blank on the name.
You talking about Michonne from The Walking Dead?
Yeah.
Don't remember her character's name. I can tell you the actress.
Oh, the one with the sword.
Yeah, she kind of throws an order at her, so you kind of get the impression in that scene that she's kind of her lieutenant. So she is obviously a higher ranking Dora Milaje than maybe most of them, but she is definitely a badass in and of herself because she is every bit awesome in this show. As little as the Dora Milaje are in it, they are significant over the course of the show. But, go ahead.
Can we take just a quick second? I want to go back to Sebastian Stan. When he goes to the old man's house to finally tell him what happened to his son, it's like, oh. I mean, it's like I didn't need to see. I mean, him telling him like, "Hey, I got something to tell you, man," and then I'm like, I don't need to see it. Just him walking out, and it's like,
I was conflicted about that, but you were right. I mean, that was a private moment between the two of them. And I get it.
I know he probably at least... That's not something you're just going to tell someone. It's just... How else do you really put that? So I know Bucky and him he tried his best, and it's a good thing that he just at least tried to... Because that kind of makes me wonder the backstory of like, wait, so what did he do? He just approached this random old guy and started taking him out to lunch every Wednesday or some shit, and it's like, huh? But at least there was, some sort of friendship built up there that at least he, I'm gonna drop this big bomb on you, and it's still gonna suck, but I gotta tell you this. And it was nice when he saw him. He saw him again in the cafe. He seemed a little more upbeat. You know, he saw the girl in there too. So he just kind of smiled at him. So it was nice.
Thank you, Night Watch. Her name's Okoye. I don't know why I couldn't bring that up. I was just watching Black Panther earlier today. I don't know. I mean, Jennifer was watching. I was kind of half watching it while I was doing some stuff around the house, but I was sitting down and watching pieces of it. Yeah, I don't know why I couldn't bring her name up, but thank you. It's Okoye. Wandy says, "Where is old Steve Rogers? Though, is he dead? Is he on the moon? Is he in space with the Skrulls?
You know,
He's
it's
on the
funny
moon.
he brings that up because in one of my mentions of cliffhangers and what I want to know more, I was like, where is Steve Rogers now? Will he pop up again? That still sits with me.
He's on the moon. He's out there with Sam Jackson.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't think we see old Steve again. I really thought that.
But we don't know if he's dead or not. We don't know if Peggy's dead.
Oh, Peggy's dead. We know Peggy's dead. Peggy dies in Civil War.
Okay, so what was he? This was side squirrel moment here. Then why didn't he come forward? Well, I guess he couldn't because the time. He couldn't give it away. I don't know. But so Peggy dies and he just keeps living as an old man, not being involved in anything.
Yeah, that was the life he wanted. Because
that would have been so hard for me.
Yeah, when Tony tells him to go, get your life, go get your family. That's the whole reason why. And you kind of saw it on his face at the end of Endgame as he's getting ready to go take the stones and put them back in their place in their space and time. That he's saying goodbye, and I think that Bucky kind of got what he was saying without out loud saying, "Yeah, I know you're not going to come back," and so he makes that conscious decision to go back to the 1940s and to get his woman and to live that life that Tony said that he needed to live, because he knew he would never get it if he stayed in the modern day. That he could have hooked up with Sharon, he could have gone and found whatever girl had just retired and gone off and rented jet skis to tourists in San Diego, but that's not the kind of life he was going to live here. He didn't want that. He wanted to go back to where he was at home, at peace, to his place, and live the life that he was supposed to live. And after everything that he does over the course of the MCU, he certainly deserves it. After you've beat the bad guy, I mean, yeah, go back to the 40s and smoke unfiltered cigarettes and just boil everything, and go live the life you were supposed to live. I mean, if he had the opportunity to get it, I would have. But
yeah.
But yeah,
we could just do the meme. Hey, do you want to be in the show? No, I don't think I will.
No, I don't think I will. But also, let's not forget about Julia Louis-Dreyfus as Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. We still don't know exactly what
such a cocky motherfucker. I mean, just like, yep, I'll call you when I call you. You pick up the phone. It just like a badass in personality. Like she would be a life of a party. I imagine at a cocktail party. Like she would be fun to hang out with on a personal level. Not that I'd want to cross paths and piss her off because that would be bad, but just an interesting character, especially the interactions with John's wife. Oh yeah, she ignoring her, and then she throws in the, except for being so blessed to be married to this wonderful woman, not even looking at her, and just she knew she had to like pay some homage to her because she could she probably felt daggers in her. You're sitting in between a woman and her husband right after this horrible moment in his life. Yeah, you better at least acknowledge the wife. So she was hilarious.
Because you start wondering, like, who the fuck are you? Like, hello?
And she opened up a whole bunch of like what the fucks, because it's like, so who are your sources? How do you know all this? Who do you work for? Like... it's like,
does he get
what's the backstory here? Tell us where you come from. What is your agenda? Where do you tie into everything else? I mean, just question. And Frank brought up, you weren't here when we talked about it, but maybe you watched it. Frank brought up how it was so bizarre that she introduces his outfit in the same room that he was stripped of his military rank and all this shit. And it's like, she has to have connections to even have access to that building, let alone have it cleared out and make sure nobody's interrupting. So, I mean, I don't know if that's just like,
she might be that,
because they didn't want to do it anywhere else and they didn't have any more sets, or is it because they're trying to signal she is that powerful?
You might have that right. It's like she might be that person that's like uh, it's what is it? It's not the A-Team. What am I thinking of? Maybe kind of like Suicide Squad. It's like, well,
Mm-hmm.
here's the people that we don't talk
Oh,
about under the books who are doing shit for the
what
government.
a
Like,
great
yeah, we don't talk about. You know
I
what I mean?
like it, Jeremy. I hadn't thought about it. Off the book
She
sanctioned
might
vigilantes.
she might be that one. It's like, okay, but this is the people that we're gonna pay to get shit done for sure. This might be our yeah. You guys are public, not publicly. Hey, we're gonna get this shit done, and we can paint whatever story we fucking
Mm-hmm.
want because America. So
Well, let me.
that's what she was saying. She's like, well, I just need you to be this person that's gonna get shit done. The U.S. agent. And he's like, yeah, well,
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me go a little deep on you about her character. She was what did she
Ooh.
say? Nate Moore said that Fontaine is a Contessa who meets with Walker and gives him the moniker U.S. agent. The executive producer Nate Moore described Fontaine as a funnier but darker version of Nick Fury who has secrets and operates in the moral gray area, which I
true.
think is actually a spitting image description of Nick Fury. I think that is exactly how you describe them both, but whatever. Now, he says funnier
Yeah.
but darker. I'm like, I think Nick Fury can be both funny and dark. I think he has been many times, but whatever. But here's the interesting thing.
Yeah.
He refers to her as a Contessa. Contessa is Italian for countess.
Mm-hmm.
We have Baron Zemo. We have a Contessa, who is a countess. Now, let's see, is Italian for countess is the wife or widow of an Italian conte, or count, or an Italian woman who has the rank of count. So, we've got Baron Zemo. We've got apparently a countess. This could just be reading too much into it. But, I mean, are we looking at something like the Illuminati or something like that? That's
what I'm saying.
That was one of the first things kind of popped in my head.
Anonymous. They're like anonymous.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you guys
know.
think?
I think there might be something to that, but I think big picture, I don't think it's going to matter once we figure out who the fuck she works for and what that looks like and what exactly is her plan with John as U.S. agent. I think I don't know. Is there so many questions, but I think you could be onto something there. Is there like an anti-Avengers besides Hydra? You know what I'm saying? That's kind of not necessarily bad guy, but not necessarily good guys that are just for hire. I don't know. It's
But she's like, I can hook you up, man. Kind of almost like some mercenary type shit. Like, hey, we'll get shit done. I mean, the way I think of it is like, hey, the first set of shit we were watching is like, Call of Duty Modern Warfare. And then this bitch is like fucking Cold War. There's all the redacted, all the other bullshit you don't hear about. And it's like, well, under the table.
Well, before we get too into the stuff about what's coming, because Awandi said something that I want to, Awandi said something I want to get to here in a second. I also want to throw a lot of love out to Carl Lumby, who played Isaiah Bradley. I mean,
yes,
that character is so important, so rich in history for this story, and he was played beautifully. I mean, and I've got a tidbit of trivia we'll go into about him also in a minute, but he's also just no stranger to the comic book aspect, to the comic book way of doing things, as he's been around the comic book genre for a long, long time in a couple different forms. The actor, not the character, the actor. But I'll get to that in just a second. Now, wasn't Awandi that said it. JSP said it. Masters of Evil, maybe, or Modern Hydra, or AIM. I don't think it's going to be AIM, because they dealt with AIM in Iron Man 3. I don't think they're going to go back to AIM. Not saying they're not. I'm saying it's highly unlikely. Modern Hydra, I don't think they're going to mess with Hydra either. I think we've moved past Hydra. I mean, one of the things I think that held Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. back is that they kind of kept beating the Hydra horse while the MCU as a whole was moving away from Hydra after the fall of S.H.I.E.L.D. and all that in Captain America the Winter Soldier. I think that them trying to hold on to it kind of, I don't know, I think we're past Hydra in the MCU. But he also mentions Masters of Evil. Now, the Masters of Evil have been the collection of villains associated with Zemo for decades, so when Cora says, is there some larger group of anti-Avengers? This could be them. Their potential emergence in the MCU is also supported by the possibility that one of them, Moonstone, could be the villain played by Zawi Ashan in Captain Marvel 2. So, That's definitely out there. So JSP throws the Masters of Evil out there. That's definitely that's possible. I mean, we're taking. I'm not saying it's for sure, but we're taking some steps in that direction. Jeremy, what do you think?
Well, because also, I mean, I think I may have either didn't catch it or was half listening to what they were saying. But like you see Zemo in his cell in the raft, and he's sitting there reading a book. He kind of just looks up, and you just see him kind of like just smiles and just lays back down. I'm like, this little shady fucker. What's he up? You know what I mean? You know he's got something in the back of his damn head, and I'm like, what are you gonna do, man? I ain't seen the last of him, so that could be that's a good assumption, I would say.
Or maybe she's someone who has money and she's starting a group. Maybe it's not an established group, and she's putting something together because she sees a need or a potential for making some money here. I don't know.
Well, just like, Nick Fury making the Avengers initiative. It's like, well, hey, we might need this at some point in the future. So, for an Avengers level threat, whatever, as they call it.
No doubt. But yeah, just definitely some great acting all around. The story was fantastic. Now let's get to a couple of pieces of trivia that I thought were kind of funny that I managed to dig up. Wyatt Russell revealed that he originally auditioned Captain America for Captain America: The First Avenger, and that was his very first audition. Chris Evans.
How ironic!
Hey,
that would drive your motivation for your character in the story. Holy shit. Like, I wanted to be Captain America, and they told me no.
Right. Yeah, obviously Chris Evans gets the role and Russell gets to play the next incarnation of Captain America in this show. But yeah, I was flipping through IMDb's trivia, and there wasn't a whole lot that was good on there. I mean, there was some stuff, some behind-the-scenes stuff, but I mean, I thought that piece of trivia was actually kind of interesting. Now, another thing is the Carly Morgenthau character, played by Aaron Kellyman so brilliantly, is a female version of the character Carl Morgenthau, the Flag Smasher, a supervillain fanatic dedicated to establishing a one-world government by violently attacking the symbols of nationalism, who first appeared in Captain America Volume 1, Issue 312. In the comics, he leads an anti-nationalist terrorist organization called, get this, we're trying to say this in one breath, the Underground Liberated Totally Integrated Mobile Army to Unite Mankind, or Ultimatum, because apparently that's how they do things in comic books for some reason with those crazy acronyms.
Yeah, of course.
Because the Strategic Homeland Intervention Security, whatever the hell, District Division, whatever the hell that Coulson spit out in the first Iron Man movie wasn't enough of a tongue twister. We get the Underground Liberated Totally Integrated Mobile Army to Unite Mankind, or Ultimatum. Good God, we need to limit acronyms to like 4 letters. That's just kind of crazy.
Maybe so.
But, and before we talk about the other thing that we kind of have to talk about that has to do with the larger MCU moving forward, Isaiah Bradley is Carl Lumbly's 5th major comic book role after working in the DC Animated Universe series Justice League in 2001 and Justice League Unlimited in 2004, where he voiced the Martian Manhunter. He was also in some Black Panther animation in 2010 where he played Sion. I'm going to spell that wrong. It's S''Y''N. It's Sion. That's what I'm going. And also in Justice League Gods and Monsters in 2015 as Silas Stone, the father of Cyborg. And he was also a character in the Supergirl. I believe this is animated. It says Supergirl 2015. I'm pretty sure it's animated, where he played Myron Jones. So he is no stranger to the world of comic book characters. So maybe it was just a natural fit that he comes in and plays Isaiah Bradley. It'd be nice to see a younger version of Isaiah Bradley do some ass kicking, but unfortunately, I don't think we're gonna get to that point. But yes, some interesting trivia on that. But there is something else we need to talk about. Have you guys seen the video that was released by Marvel earlier today on Twitter?
No.
Okay, they pretty much
laid out the announcement shit.
Yes, they pretty much laid out all of Phase 4, and one of the things that now,
oh wow,
honestly,
I'm shocked.
About the time that this last episode of Captain Winter Soldier dropped, along with that came an announcement that they are moving forward and they have greenlit a Captain America 4 film. Now they said what it's going to do is it's going to pick up Sam's journey as Captain America, and it's going to be his journey moving forward. So, I think this makes it a little less likely that we're going to see a season 2 of Falcon and Winter Soldier, but we are going to see Sam Wilson again carry the shield and go start kicking start kicking bad guy ass, which is kind of cool. But this announcement was pretty big. For one, it gave a name for the Black Panther sequel. It's going to be called Black Panther Wakanda
Yes.
Forever. I don't care what you call it. You could have just been called Black Panther 2 or Black Panther Here We Go Again or Black Panther We're going to kick some more bad guy ass. I wouldn't care. Give me the movie. I'm all about it. They've also revealed a little bit of the details about it. I know Lupita Nyong'o, she had said that even the look, they're not recasting, and I think it's a terrible mistake. They're not recasting the T'Challa character. I don't know what they plan on doing to address his absence. We're all going to find out when that movie opens up next year. But she did say that she did say that they are paying respect to Chadwick Boseman's legacy, not just as an actor and as a great human being overall, but also as T'Challa. But it's also going to be kind of wild. There's going to be some crazy shit that happens in it. So one of the theories that's running around out there right now is that because time travel is now a thing in the MCU, and apparently it's something they have at their fingertips regularly, that they're going to go back in time and not get T'Challa, but get a younger version of his father, King T'Chaka, and that he may end up coming forward to be the Black Panther moving forward. I'm shady on that. I'm shady on that. I'm sorry. I'm not cool with it. The whole time travel to go back and do all this stuff.
This is their Days of Future Past. Let them have it.
Are they going to stop him from killing his brother?
So I'm saying, are they going to change?
Well, we're not going to know any of that until the movie comes out. Yeah, we're not going to know any of that until the movie comes out, so I really don't know. But as far as what's in the story, like I said, they're keeping that under wraps. Because I would imagine there's a lot of people that are looking for spoilers and leaks about what this movie is going to look like without Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah.
But I kind of don't want spoilers for this. I kind of just want to go in there fresh. Like I said, I've said a million times, I think not recasting was a terrible idea. I think there were several actors out there that could not come in and be what Chadwick Boseman was, but respect the history, the legacy of Chadwick Boseman enough to come in here and give the character the effort that it deserves moving forward. I think there are actors out there that could have done it. I don't understand why Disney doesn't want to recast. I don't get it. I mean, you kind of got, again, they've dealt with this before with Carrie Fisher, her unfortunate passing in between the last two Star Wars movies. There was no good way to deal with that. They did the best they could. I don't hold any of that against them. I think that ultimately they did a pretty good job with what they had. But one of the things that always struck me as kind of funny about this, talking about Black Panther specifically, Chadwick Boseman was diagnosed with his illness right about the time they made the first movie. So, and he made Kevin Feige aware of it immediately. So it wasn't like him and Kevin Feige didn't know. I'm kind of wondering why Chadwick Boseman and Kevin Feige didn't sit down and say, look, it's a possibility that this is not going to go the way that, we kind of hope it'll go. It'll go into remission, and I'll beat this cancer. There is a possibility that it goes the wrong way. Let's have a guy in place. Let's talk about this between Kevin Feige and Chadwick Boseman, and maybe even Ryan Coogler, because I would imagine that Ryan Coogler was in on that too. These three guys that have brought this character to life and say, if the worst happens, we're going to go to this guy. We've spent a couple of years talking about it. We've watched his movies. We think that this guy is going to be the one that can step in, pick up the torch, and carry T'Challa moving forward exactly the way that we have designed this character, and that Chadwick Boseman has played the character, and that Ryan Coogler has directed the character. We have hopefully enough time to handpick somebody. I don't understand why that didn't happen, because Kevin Feige is not dumb. I'm kind of blown away that he didn't think about this the moment he heard about Chadwick Boseman's diagnosis.
Me too. I was, when you first talked about this, I was thinking to myself, why didn't they put a contingency plan in place?
But again, in Feige we trust. In Feige I trust anyway. He hasn't made a whole lot of mistakes, so I'm going into this with cautious optimism. But yes, they did absolutely. Let me go try to find the. Let me go try to find at least the visuals of it all.
I mean, there was like Thor, Love and Thunder, or some shit. There was Guardians 3, which is cool. It said some shit about Black Widow, Multiverse of Madness, No Way Home. The Marvels, and they had Shang-Chi.
They did show. First off, let's talk about that voiceover by Stan Lee. It was amazing. I
It always gets you a little bit riled.
It did. It hit me in the chest a little bit when I heard it. And Cora, when I was telling you about the videos of the way people were reacting when Kat picks up Mjolnir and that final battle in Endgame and the reaction of everybody in the theater, hearing the man himself, Stanley, talk about how great it is to just be one giant family in the theater experiencing these moments, I was like, good God, from beyond the grave, this guy is touching us in a special way. This is why. Again, this is why the Patreon. I want to get people back to theaters to go do this. And
yes, I agree.
And I know J-Man was saying for several weeks ago over on the Derailed podcast that movie theaters are dead. I'm like, they're not dead. As long as there is a moment like that coming, we don't know when it's coming. We don't know what film's going to bring it to us. But as long as we know that there is one or two more moments like that out there to have, the theaters will always be alive. That experience will always be there. And to hear Stanley talk about how that brings people together, I was like, that's why. That's why we need to get back to the theaters. That's why we need to do what we got to do. Beat this pandemic thing so we can get back out and start enjoying these things together as people again. And the theater is a huge part of that. And so to hear him say all those things, we were like, good God, Stan, is there any way that you couldn't put this to us to make us understand it? I mean, it was brilliant. I don't know when that was recorded. I don't know how old that is. It could have been something from the 70s for all I know. But I mean, it was like he was talking directly to our soul in that. And as the clips of the stuff, from the past, the Iron Man stuff and Captain America throwing the shield and all this stuff, as those visuals were going through as he's talking about this, it was a great visual reminder as well as to why we love not just the MCU, but just the movie experience. I thought it was phenomenal.
Exactly.
And then
it pulls you out of your everyday life, and it's a little bit of magic that captivates your mind and your heart at the same time, and is relatable in some ways, and gives you a vicarious experience of things that you will never, or any of us will go through. It's just the magic of the movies.
There is. It's a magical thing. Yeah, JSP in the chat says they said movie theaters were dead when television came out. Well, tell that to Spielberg, Lucas, Jackson. Tell that to Hitchcock, Tarantino. Tell that to all these
Del Toro.
Tell that to all these guys that have made that since then have made brilliant films. I mean, tell that to Feige. I mean, the average box office haul for every Marvel movie is $1 billion. That's the average for a Marvel movie. I think only one Marvel movie has not broke $1 billion, and I think Captain Marvel did what, 900 million? I'd like to have one movie that does $900 million, and they call that a bomb. I would love to make one movie that bombs to the tune of $900 million. But some of the interesting things I saw in this, though, is it's not Captain Marvel and Captain Marvel 2, it's the Marvels. Did you catch that, Jeremy?
I did. I was like, huh? Because it's the same.
What do you think?
Kind of well, because there is. Oh hell! There's Miss Marvel. There's Captain Marvel. There's a couple different versions, either not necessarily of her, because I mean, even Monica becomes Captain Marvel at some point. So there are multiples. Yeah, like she had the name of Captain Marvel at least at some point, and then she had Photon and all kinds of other shit. Maybe that's what that meant, because it was the same, like I said, the same, what's the font? Like the same layout as like Captain Marvel. When I saw Marvel, I thought, and it just said Marvels, and I was like, huh? Okay, is that? Maybe that's what that means. I don't know. Maybe there's more to it that we haven't seen yet.
But yeah, that comes out.
You know what the hell she's been doing out there.
Yeah, well, we're going to find out. That comes out November 11th of 2022. We did see a little bit of Shang-Chi, The Legend of the Ten Rings again. I don't think it was any new footage of that, but I don't care. I just want to see the movie. I'm all in on Shang-Chi. I'm really wanting, trailer. Yeah, I'm really wanting them to explore the Ten Rings a lot more. And hopefully we're going to get a legitimate Mandarin in this movie too. That's what I'm hearing.
I'm the Mandarin.
Not that terrible whatever the hell they did in Iron Man 3. And then obviously the Black Panther Wakanda Forever. That looked pretty cool. Another thing we saw, though, is we saw a little bit more of, what was it, the Eternals. We actually got that really cool image of Angelina Jolie with that, like, translucent sword with the gold trim. That looked pretty badass. And I got to admit,
Right.
I've not been overly excited about the Eternals. I mean, I want to see it, but when Marvel has tried to step out into the cosmic part of the universe, it's been a little shifty. It's like Guardians of the Galaxy worked, but then other things they've tried to do, like what was the TV show that lasted for like 3 episodes? Inhumans. They didn't do the Inhumans didn't work well at all. And again, part of it was because you had Ike Perlmutter running the TV stuff, and you had Kevin Feige running the movie stuff, and they just did not get along very well at all. They didn't want anything to do with each other, and it kind of screwed everything up. Now it's just Kevin Feige doing it all, so hopefully the stuff will all work better. But I mean, they tried it in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. The cosmic stuff didn't work. I think that show got worse as it went on. I mean, it was good. It wasn't great, but it was good, and then it just got continually worse until they go to space and whatever nonsense happened there. It just wasn't good. The last season kind of brought it back down to ground level and improved, but I was ready for the whole series to end as a whole. But they're definitely trying to step back out into the cosmic realm, and I think they're probably in a pretty good position now to go do that. Because they're also going to be going into a little bit, not so much the backstory, but they're going to be going a little deeper into the people like Thanos. Because Thanos is one of the, not Eternals, he's one of the, shit.
No, I thought he was one of the Eternals.
Well, there's like a group of people out there, and like Thanos is one of this group, but I forget what the hell they're called. God damn it, I'm drawing a blank now. I swear to God, I just read it earlier and I'm drawing a blank. But yeah, so they're definitely going to be getting into that. And, you know, obviously, like Ego the Living Planet that we saw Kurt Russell play in the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. They're going to be getting a little bit more into that stuff, too, all that cosmic stuff. So I'm ready to definitely go where Marvel's taking us on that. But, yeah, that announcement was a pretty big deal. And there was a little bit of new footage, not a lot. Obviously, we're waiting for Black Widow, which, you know, we've been waiting for that for, you know, a year or 2 months now, something like that. We're getting that in July 9th, I believe, is when that's finally coming out. And, and other than that, I mean, we're gonna have a steady diet of TV stuff coming out. I mean, Loki comes out Friday. Is it this Friday or next Friday?
Loki comes out in I did a countdown on my phone. Hold on, let me tell you how many days it is. I just fucking had it. I think 37 days.
Loki?
Loki's in 39 days.
Oh, really?
June 11th.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Damn.
I double checked before we went live.
Oh, wow. So
Man, what are we supposed to do for
39 days?
Oh, well,
I don't know.
We have a lot of those.
Maybe rewatch the Thor movies and the stuff with him in it.
We have a lot of those tag videos that we've been getting tagged on by Nightwatch and some other people on YouTube that I've been trying to get to. I just haven't had time. Maybe that's what we'll do on Mondays for a while until we get back to some of the Marvel stuff.
Nice.
But,
okay.
But yeah, I mean, just as we move on from Falcon and Winter Soldier, any final thoughts on the series as a whole as we wrap up this live stream?
I would really like to know, does Sam get the government support being Captain America? I'm sure, you know, he comes out with the Wakandan suit, and sure, the reporter guys refer to him and the city cop guy refers to him, but will he actually get the support of the government? And what will come of Carly's devout followers after she dies? Will they create a second wave of violence? Will someone take her place, or will it just die down? I just would really like to know, even though it seems silly, but will Bucky move closer to Sam and start a life, or will he still be a loner? There's a lot of questions like that I have, but they're not like integral to moving forward, but they're just things that I would like to know.
Well, we'll probably get those answers in Captain America 4, at least some of them anyway. Jeremy, any of your final thoughts?
Yeah, who the hell is that old man to blow up all the super soldiers?
It was Alfred.
Excuse the fuck out of whatever, sure. I'm kind of like, hello? Who the fuck are you? Because that happened, and then that Navy guy just one people. I'm like, motherfucker, of course. And then the little fucker smiled too, and I was like, well, and then boom, I was like, oh, what, huh? And this old guy's like, yep. I'm like, who the fuck are you? Wait a minute. So I don't know. Maybe figure out who the hell that is, because I don't know if that was all of them then, right? Was that all the rest of the super soldiers? So maybe that's tied up. Maybe that's one of Allegra D's people. I don't fucking know. That's what I'm saying. It's the shady people that get shit done. See what I'm saying? Shady people in the shadows, they get shit done. He had a plan. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe see what I kind of want to see what Sam's going to get into. Like this is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess like you said, support the government or not. I mean, I don't see why they wouldn't. I guess because since I assume John Walker's under the table now, that maybe I wonder if him and Sam maybe and or Bucky might cross paths again. That'd be kind of interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah.
Yeah, his butler's name was Oznik, not Alfred. I just want to make sure I throw his character some love because he was. Hey, in that one moment, he was as badass as he could have been. He blew up a fucking transport full of super soldiers. So, got to give the guy some respect.
Sure.
Yeah, TSS2 in the chat says Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was good for the first 2 seasons. I think it got better after the first season once they tried to separate themselves from the larger MCU and become their own thing. But once the whole going into space thing, that show just fell apart completely. It took them a while to get it back on the rails. And even then, they didn't do a very good job towards the end. But, the show's over now, so who really cares? My final thoughts of this series are it was great. It had, like I said, it had its own buddy cop theme, but at the same time it broadened the canvas of the MCU that focused on these characters and gave us way more of who they really are. And again, one of the drawbacks of the movies is you can only do so much background on these characters before you have to cut back to the battle and the Thanos and the snapping and the stones. That one of the nice things about this long form of storytelling is that you can get more personally attached to these people, and that was brilliantly done in this, as brilliantly as it was done in WandaVision. So I mean, bravo to the people who wrote this, and actually the guy who was the lead writer for this series is the one that is going to be writing and developing Captain America 4. So he is cool. So while he was responsible for creating this larger mosaic that we got from this series, he's going to be the one moving forward to give us another version, the what's next for these characters, which is fantastic because it's going to help for continuity. It's going to help a lot of things. It's going to help keep these characters it's going to help push these characters forward, I think, in a great way. Yeah. But I really hope that you guys enjoyed our coverage of Falcon Winter Soldier over the course of the last 6 weeks. Also, don't forget to support the Patreon. $5 a month, you can get a chance to win $25 in free movie tickets. Do it for the theaters. That's all the spiel I'm going to give today because it's the end of the show, and I don't want to go too much on this. But but yeah, absolutely. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I want to thank my co-host Lady Cora and my hetero life mate Jeremy for being here now through 2 fantastic shows and for doing such a fantastic job and breaking these things down with me. You guys are fantastic, and you guys deserve all the credit in the world. I want to thank you guys for coming here every week and just banging this stuff out and having a lot of fun talking about this stuff. You guys are great.
Oh, I have as much fun as you do, if not more so. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm just glad our idea back in 2012 finally came to light. So
we may not get internet famous, but people are going to know what the hell we think about movies. Damn it!
You're right. Hey, you 2 jackasses that work together at a job, hey, you can do it too,
Damn right. Between you and Aaron, who hopefully will be able to pop on here a little more, and maybe my buddy Jake Huff, who's been on here to do a couple of reviews with me. I've been talking to him lately about trying to come back on and do some stuff. He's definitely eager. Right. Me and Cora are still looking at I'm starting to plan in my head the way we're going to break down the seasons one by one of Downton Abbey before the Downton Abbey sequel comes out in December. We'll be starting.
I may actually start getting ahead and start watching them and making notes once you give me a structure.
I actually started to do that, and then all I did was just blow through the series. I just forgot to take notes. I just went back to episode 1 and just blew through the series again.
I'm glad you guys told me that because I told my mom, who absolutely loves that show, and she got so goddamn excited. She's like, "What?" I'm like, "I don't know. There's a sequel." I'm like, "I don't know jack shit about the." All I've seen is the movie. I took her to go see the movie. I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but okay. Still enjoyed it. I still enjoyed it.
But yeah, there's still plenty to come on the channel, both with my 2 wonderful co-hosts and with a couple other friends that try to pop on whenever we get a chance. So thank you guys for watching. Thank my great co-hosts, and we'll see you guys on Thursday as we talk about our favorite pre-1980 films. I've seen Jeremy's list. I put my list together. Cora's going to give me hers. There's some pretty good movies that I've seen so far, and let's be honest, again, it's a long list that we could give you. We're each going to give you our 5, and a couple of them are really, really good. I think you guys are going to like them. So
most of mine are before 1960, by the way.
Most of mine, a couple of mine are in the 30s. Yeah.
Nice.
Most of mine were in the 70s, so I felt bad, so I broke away with at least 2 of them.
Hey, that's okay, but we got a nice
Yeah.
broad spectrum here, sounds like. So.
Yeah, we're going to tell you guys about some pretty great movies on Thursday, so come back and check that out. Thursday, probably about 9 o'clock is what I'm thinking, because I have some baseball stuff on Thursday. But I will see you guys later on.
Okay.
Thank you, JSP, Michael Clow, Rachel Rutland just came into the chat. What's going on, Rachel? Always good to see you around here. Who else in here? Night Watcher's in here for a minute. Awandi. Let's see. There were some people in here early that I think had to leave. TSS2 was in the chat. Randy Viper, my man. Really mysterious. We love him. He's one of our favorite people.
Patreon. We forgot to mention I should put the link in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Patreon link is in the description below. So even if Cora can't get it in there before we jump off the air, it's in the description below if you guys want to support the channel.
There we go.
We very much appreciate you guys doing that. TSS says mine's a mixed bag of movies from the 80s, pre-80s. Yeah. There's a whole lot that came out that are good. You're going to get a lot of cool movies. Like I said, I've seen the list. It's a pretty eclectic mix, and I think you guys are going to kick out of it.
Thanks.
And we will see you guys on Thursday. For my co-host, thank you guys very much. We'll see you later. Adios.